Alright, this is Big Boss, this is Foxhound Woodsball, coming to you from Fort Lauderdale and from my blog page over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. And I'm also up with my friends over at Acid Tactical, so you can check them out at acidtactical.com. Anyway, the subject of today's video is going to be jungle and forest games. Now, yeah, you could have paintball fields just about anywhere. And in most parts of North America, it's going to be pretty much like a jungle. But you get further south, you're also dealing with more subtropical environments, more swamp style. For all you guys that know about the Florida Everglades or have a damn good idea about what the Louisiana Bayou's like, you probably got a good idea about what I'm going to be talking about for this shit. Now, with that being said, we're going to be discussing gear setup and configurations, but more accurately, your considerations for the kind of gear that you're going to wear on your body, your camouflage options, as well as some of the stuff that you could put into a backpack, butt pack, whatever. Plus, we're also going to be discussing anything and everything you need for operating in the forest or the jungle. So, with that out of the way, we're going to kick this off, but first, a word from our friends and sponsors over at acidtactical.com. Don't forget to check them out over at acidtactical.com. And remember, when the shit hits the fan and you've got to trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question. Can your gear survive the acid test? Well, anyway, we'll be back right after this.
Okay, this is Paintball. This is more accurately the PC version of it. Tournament ball, speedball, you get the idea. Fast pace, high octane aggression. It's all about electro-pneumatic markers, mass volumes of fire. But we also have the other paintball. It's out in nature. It is there. It's also a more tactical environment. You're using your gun, you're using camouflage, everything like that. This is what paintball was and what it still is. Now, for this particular video discussion, as I said, we're doing jungle and forest environments. And these environments could go from one thing to another. In the forest, you got usually 4 different seasons, so you have to prep and pack accordingly to those kind of the gameplays. Also, depends upon what you're doing, if it's single player or part of a team, and if it's a team, what's your role on that team. But forest, jungles, when we talk forest, as I said, you got your seasons. Jungles are more subtropical, year-round type environments, and for that, it's its own little beast when it comes down to humidity, heat, and so on and so forth. However, the same basic thing is applicable to both your camouflage selection, your gun, your gear, and a lot of ways, same general prep work that could be used for either kind of environment with some exceptions.
Sorry for the rundown on environments. I will say I've been putting a lot of thought on that one, but I digress. Now, let's talk about your uniform. For you as a player or as part of a larger paintball team, I've seen everyone go with the latest and greatest. It's like when ACUs and MARPAT were the popular thing, players are going apeshit for that. Now it's like everything from Cryptech, multicam, stuff like that. But aside from the camouflage ranting, the main thing to consider for this video is choosing the camouflage pattern for your particular environment. Now, I am a South Florida native, therefore there's only 2 seasons in Florida, spring and summer, and that is it. It rarely gets cold. Hell, last time it snowed in Florida was in '79, but I digress. Now, aside from that, when we talk about forests and jungles, we want camouflage patterns that work well for us. Since Florida is more of the subtropical, we can get away with wearing more greens all year round. In my case, I got tiger stripes on. This one here is I'm wearing is made by True Spec. I got a RAP4 version here, which is Modern Combat Sports now, and I've also got a Woodland set also from Modern Combat Sports. Now, here's the thing. More of your triple canopy style jungle, swampland, stuff like that would be where you can wear either one of these patterns very well. But in my opinion, the woodland patterns would be more applicable up in the New England region, American Midwest, where you still got a lot of your greens, but there's also going to be more browns in there too, especially in more transitional environments where the forest would be becoming more open plains and going into a desert environment, or if you're going up into more forest environments where there are actual seasons such as winter and fall. Those browns would definitely work in the fall season, especially on this one, because the khaki and the brown and the M81 pattern was designed to work when the leaves become reddish, yellows, and browns. So you got that going for it. Tiger stripe, on the other hand, works good with tree bark, but its brush stroke pattern that mimic actual tiger stripes are going to be more for your shadow, places where it's going to be built up vegetation where it becomes dark in some areas. So with that being said, forests, jungles overall, you've got a wide range of patterns from your DPMs, your ODs, and if you guys need some further guidance or ideas on camouflage patterns, there's a YouTuber that I routinely follow, of Brent0331, Marine Corps veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, and he's got an entire playlist of camouflage effectiveness videos that I would think would be very informative to all of you guys that are looking for a good camouflage pattern. So I will link that into this, and with that being said, we're going to be rolling on to something else. Okay, another uniform consideration for your gaming environments are going to be these combat uniforms. This one is made by Han Wild. I am still doing the review on this one. I'll be doing that review at a time to be determined, but long story short, this is a good concept. However, the weak point is going to be the body of this shirt as well as any of the elastic areas that allow for that flexibility, because these kind of things will get caught on birds, brush, anything like that, and will definitely degrade the service life of this type of uniform top. This top, though, is very breathable and comfortable. Now, me personally, if I'm running in a game wearing something like this, I'm wearing a full tactical vest with it, or I'm wearing body armor, or both. That's probably the only way that I'd be wearing something like this into the field, unless it is more urban operations. But that being said, this is still a very good option and is being used by many players, as well as becoming a firm favorite of many tactical units, both in military, law enforcement, and the armed prepared citizen and armed prepared civilian defense groups, those kind of things. So there is that. Alright, let's look at your headwear. What we wear in the field playing paintball. Now, yeah, you're going to be wearing a mask, but headwear also can work in your staging area, protect you from the sun, or as part of a tactical thing, certain identifiers, psyop shit. A lot of cool stories involved in that one, such as baseball caps. This one I'm wearing, well, I was wearing, is made by Roscoe. This is their operator ball cap. This one in particular is in your Vietnam style tiger stripe. Cool thing about it, you got your tape back here for your name tape or any kind of morale patch. You got a piece up here for your glint tape, IFF tab, and you got a front one that you can put unit patch or identifying marks, or swap it out for different patches depending upon your mood. Very good on making a case for having the cool moto patch on your cover. If you guys are in military units, don't let the sergeant major, your master chief see it, otherwise they will rape your souls. But long story short, great thing for unit identifiers, great thing if you're in the staging area at a paintball event. That way you can have far recognition of teammates if you know what patches that they're wearing. Other than that, definitely something to look for. Drawback, I would say, on this particular hat, any baseball cap in general, you gotta wear this thing backwards and wearing a paintball mask. Now, other than that, decent protection. Then we've got bandanas and do-rags. Now, both these, yes, modern combat sports, definitely cool shit. Now, these things are good, keeping the sweat off your face. And believe me, when you're lying in the prone in a forest or even in a subtropical environment, you can sweat like a motherfucker. And believe me, nothing is bad than having that sweat dripping into your eyes, and then you got that slight burn going on. Screws up your shot, you get fidgety. Whole lot of things, but these work very good for that. You could wear the do-rag and the bandana together even to create extra padding for around your mask and additional head protection. Definitely good on that one. Another good one would be your classic military type boonie hats. Now, you can find aftermarket mod jobs where these things outfitted to the hilt with mesh. You got different setups, but sorry, but generally speaking, this is your classic boonie hat. This one, I do not have any markings for who makes it, but this one is definitely commercial tiger stripe version. Definitely a little darker than my tiger stripes and true spec, but works great, still looks badass. Another thing, this works particularly well for the forest and jungle games, especially if you do sniper work. These boonie hats do have this brim around here to allow the addition of vegetation. So you could put your net on, your jute, your burlap, veg it out. Works great for that. Also, good for breaking up your outline when you're creeping around. Always keep one of these with you in your kit. Good for both staging area and in the field. Other one is your helmet. Now, some paintball masks will have an integrated helmet system, or it's a full cover mask. Me personally, I prefer the modular approach. I've got my mask and I'll put this right on top of it. This is particularly an airsoft helmet that I got many years ago. This is based on the Pasgat tactical helmet that was a military mainstay. Now, with that being said, this is definitely a good option. It provides excellent head protection. My only gripe about this is that it will trap in a lot of your body heat coming from your head. Now, with that being said, would you want to wear a helmet? Maybe, especially if you know you're doing more assault type gameplay, or if you're rolling into more confined areas. Other than that, for as good as this is, I would probably want to keep it to just a boonie hat or a baseball cap, and that's it. Alright, let's talk the gear you're going to be wearing in the field. Now, your gear preferences are going to be there. You could run chest rigs, but even the best chest rigs, they get front heavy, so you counter it with a belt, backpack, stuff like that. But it also depends upon, aside from your own preferences, what kind of weather are we dealing with? What's the terrain going to be like? How long we're going to be out there? If we're operating with a larger team, if it's a organized team, what are my responsibilities within that team? What gear do I have to carry for a particular team position? These are things that could have great impact on your equipment setup and what you're doing. But I'm going to be going through some basics. Let's start off with the tried and true Alice gear. This stuff, yeah. Call it what you will. 782 gear, Deuce gear, Web gear. You Brits call it your fucking kit. This stuff has been around since 1970s. This is an evolution off the M67 gear, which evolved from the M1956 gear, which evolved off the Web gear that our grandfathers were using in World War II in Korea. So I digress on that one. Limited modularity, bare basics you can go. This one's set up with 4 magazine pouches, 2 canteens, and a butt pack. Now, as I said, minimum modularity. You can supplement the Web gear though with a chest rig if you so choose. That's been a big thing when the battle belts were a big thing in the military. They still are in most cases, but you also have how you carry your magazines or your pods. This one is more of a hopper fed setup because of these Alice magazine pouches. Canteens, pretty much you could use a canteen pouch with some shock cord and a cord lock to keep a 16-ounce tank in there. I did a video about that one, improvising your kit, so check that one out. But long story short, the centerpiece for this would be your butt pack. This one in particular is a Blackhawk butt pack, so you can find these on secondhand market, but they are getting rarer and harder to find. So be that as it may, you could hook up a lot of crap in here. If you're doing scenario games, big games, or just outlaw, you can put a lot of things to keep you going in the field with this. Poncho liner, you can put a bigger air tank in here. Just make sure that that shit is secure if you're running it on a remote line. Sky's the limit with the butt pack, especially if you're running this in more immersive scenarios. But as I said, good kit, very bare basic. You could definitely build up. Now, a lot of the gear that I've got here is going to be your load-bearing vest variety. That is my personal taste. The reason why I love it is a lot of these rigs here, like this Tiger Stripe one, all run with belt loops to give you the option, but I highly recommend running a belt on here to keep your load stable. That's another thing. Your belt kit. Kind of with the Alice shit, but for a tactical player, this stuff does make a lot of sense if you're moving kit from one setup to another. The things I usually keep on this particular belt, I'd usually keep a pistol mag, and I'd carry my dump pouch. That and a provision to hook up my pistol, or an additional leg rig if I'm running additional items on my left leg. But I'd usually run my sidearm on a drop leg, so there's that. Another gear consideration would be this H harness. This H harness is an ACU. Yes, ACU is a shit pattern, but moving on from the pattern alone, one cardinal rule that you'll see throughout the gear that I'm going to show you is uniformity with your equipment arrangement. This is a standard operating procedure that my team and I have done over the years. We'd have our equipment arranged in as a general rule up front to have easy access whether we're shooting left hand or right hand, and our sides would have specialty items or things like your IFAK, your 203 shells if you're running a grenade launcher and things like that. This thing was designed to be either or for our particular preferences depending upon what gear rigs we ran. This one is pretty much, all this is going to be set up to my preferences, and bear in mind I am a left-handed shooter, so this H harness, just like the Alice rig, this is as minimalistic as you want to get. This is just enough gear to get you through without carrying additional backpack for other items. So got a pouch here to run a small multi-tool or anything that I could think of, like a flashlight, small items like that. I've got mag pouches up front for my magazine fed marker. I can hold 8 magazines total on this rig. I got my comms gear set up, ammo pouches for the 203, and this one's outfitted with a general purpose pouch. This is pretty much your saw pouch or an IFAK or GP pouch, so keep that in mind with your configurations. Last but not least, especially on those hot days or days where you're going to be really active, hydration carrier, place to hook up your tank. There's all that set up. This one, very good on your breathability. It's pretty much a bastardization between web gear and a tactical vest, so a little bit of both gives you enough options as such to be pretty effective. You can't find these in ACU or Air Force issue ABUs. They're digital Tiger Stripe because this particular gear design was used by the US Air Force for a good while. Very nice setup. You could find it made by London Bridge or Eagle Industries and others in a Moly format and in various colors. So keep that in mind when selecting your kit. Now, this one here, I would be tempted to run in more cooler weather because this is Florida. I can get away with running this damn thing, especially in the high heat. This is my tie gear vest. This one's all Tiger Stripe because, hey, South Florida, we got spring, we got summer, it gets cold. Still, temperatures will drop into, at the coldest, about the 40s or even colder into the 30s, and that is it. So, playing out in the bush, I can actually get away with wearing my tiger stripes still in the winter, which is a pretty cool fucking thing for me, but I digress, even though I am a fan of my woodlands. Now, basic setup is the same as with everything else. I got my mags, I got my comms, 203 shells, IFAK setup. I've got a little utility pouch up here for little odds, ends, air tanks, team patches, morale patches, what the fuck. On the back it's pretty much the same as well. You got your provisions for your air tank, hydration carriers. However, bear in mind that vest was 1000 Cador nylon. That keeps the heat in, so that would be a plus for the winter months. If you're playing in warmer climates, I would seriously recommend mesh. Mesh vests are always going to be your good stuff. This one, your back panel is going to be the mesh, while everything else is your 1000 Cador nylon. So this is going to be more around a web gear set. This one, on the other hand, is full-on mesh. This vest in particular is my Mali Medic 2 combat vest. I don't know why they call it the Medic 2, but I've reviewed this thing, and it's an evolution off the LBV 88. So it's got its lineage and it's battle proven overall. That's what I love about it. As you can see, it's pretty much hooked up. I can run either hopper or magazine fed on this. I got ammo for 203. I got my IFAK set, my comms gear. This is the vest that would be my preferred vest across the board. I wish it came in more patterns, but aside from that, as you can see, air tank, hydration carrier, though this would be what I like to call a full encompassing idea. I don't believe in that line 1, line 2 bullshit. A self-contained tactical vest is worth its weight in gold. Easy to get on, easy to get off if you need to in a pinch, and is definitely still of a modular format. With that being said, overall, your equipment is supposed to be a reflection of you if you're looking at it like that, but as I said, always keep in mind the weather that you're playing in, your environment, the terrain you deal with, what your responsibilities are within your teams. These are things that will have a serious impact on what gear you select, guns you carry out, as well as other factors. So choose what works for you. For me, this was a metric shit ton of trial and error. So be that as it may, make sure you got your shit wired for everything. Alright, let's talk about backpacks. Backpacks are pretty much everything that you're going to need out in the field. This is mainly in your staging area, your campgrounds. These are the things that you need it, yet you don't need it up front. That's the thing. This is stuff that you live out of. You got this, you got that, you don't need it, it's in a backpack. And we got two different types of backpacks we can operate with. We've got a bucket type backpack, which is this LC2 Alice rucksack, and we've got your clamshell design right here, which is your Highland Tactical. Now, I'm going to use the more modern clamshell style as a rundown of what you need your pack set up as, but I'm going to go through pros and cons to each one. Now, your bucket type, which is this LC2 Alice Ruck, this is pretty much an icon. I've done camping with it, I've paintballed with it for fucking years. This is the kind of shit that has seen me through more times than I care to imagine with the field, throughout my time camping. When I was in high school, I used it for my summer leadership programs I was a part of in those days. But long story short, this thing is robust, it is very flexible, and there's also an aftermarket system of modifications that guys have been doing. Guys have been putting molly on this stuff. Guys have been making this thing more versatile than what the initial design parameters were for this pack initially. I will post links down to every kind of mod job I've seen or can come across in the description to this video, but lay down the particular backpack. There are two variants, a medium and a large. Right here is your medium. The large, I'm not even pulling that one out for obvious reasons, but you can find plenty of videos on that one. Now, cool thing, you've got webbing all around here. You can easily use the old M1910 hook system or any kind of pouch that we would call Alice pouches today, which would be your M1956, your M1967, and your M72 gear, or your 782 gear, which is your iconic Alice gear. But you can molly shit on here, though I would say weave in the Alice to Molly adapter on the Molly pouch and use the Alice clips like that for Molly pouches, but to each his own. You do you, work with what you got. That's my thing. However, it's pretty much a main compartment. You got one main compartment here, and you got a second like sub pouch right inside, which would normally be used for a field radio. But if you're not using it for a radio, you can easily throw a hydration bladder in here. You can throw in a lot of odds and ends. This pack is pretty flexible when it comes down to putting stuff on it, taking stuff off, and you can scale it up, you can scale it down. That's one of the beauties about this pack. But unlike the more other backpacks, this one is capable of being mounted to an external pack frame. Now, the external pack frames, you can use the new modern Molly type one that is a plastic one. I heard horror stories about that one over the years, but the new one should be okay. However, I've always been a fan of the Atlas one. That's the nice aluminum tubing that was made into the frame. This pack can go on an external frame to increase your load capabilities and allows you to be very, very adaptable. So that's pretty much a modular system in itself. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about this one right here. This is your Highland Tactical Ballistic Backpack. Now, this is what we call a clamshell design. You've got multiple compartments that could deal with a lot of things. You got a main compartment which could fold out the entire length of the backpack. You got a secondary one here which could also serve as a mild administrative section. As you can see, it's got the things here for your pens, shit like that. And you've got a third, like, little map pocket or tertiary thing. So, be that as it may, this one has got the provisions for a laptop. It's more set up to run things like a hydration bladder on the inside. You could use this thing as an assault pack. However, its cargo capacity is that of a rucksack, so you've got plenty of options. And with Molly webbing on this thing, you can outfit it for every type of operation you can imagine. Now, what do we put on our backpacks in general? Now, you don't want everything hooked onto the outside like you see in the catalogs, but what you want is priority items. That means stuff like your water, gun things that you need up front, but you may not have them in your vest, or things you can take off this pack to mount on your vest. You want maintenance gear, you want first aid. A good IFAK that's a larger capacity than what you have on your gear vest is a solid winner, especially if you need more quantity for medical supplies, or you need something more specialized for a specific thing. This is entirely an SOP driven thing if you're military or law enforcement, but you'd have such things in here like tourniquets, you'd have stuff like bandages, anything to deal with burns. However, this is pretty much the kind of stuff you find in your local drugstore or grocery store as far as your camping supplies, stuff like that, because medical is a little bit of a thing when it comes down to cuts, bruises. You mess up your ankle somehow, you get stung by something, you got your aches and pains with age. There are those things. Believe me, I'm pushing 40 right now and I'm still playing paintball, so there is that. But long story short, you are practically living out of this backpack. So your main compartment is going to be such items as ghillie equipment, gun maintenance, paint, field items like this paracord here, as well as additional gun parts if you need to switch out your gun configuration at the time. So that is everything that you need inside a backpack, not including spare uniforms. If you're bringing food or anything like that, these are things I will be discussing later on in the video. Okay, let's talk about your boots. What we wear on our feet. Now, if any of you guys that watch my videos have been in the military, you guys know this right off the bat. You take care of your feet. Your feet are your fucking Cadillacs. If you don't take care of your feet, they will crack open and turn into little vaginas. So, with that being said, let's discuss some of our options that we could wear from a commercial standpoint or genuine issue, surplus, and anything and everything in between. Let's look at a more commercial boot. For example, I got a pair of these black steel-toed Herman Survivor boots. These boots I've had in my inventory for fucking years. I've worn these things on work sites when I helped some of my friends do home improvement projects, or had to tear out some stuff over the years when I was 15, 16. I did that. These boots have seen me through that. What you need in a good boot is a good, solid, oil and slip resistant sole. For all you guys that know what I'm talking about, these kind of boots are especially good if you're running more urban games. But considering we're doing more woods and jungle environments, these boots aren't bad, but they are a little too heavy and breathability is not good. So these boots would instantly be disqualified. Now, a military type boot would be something like this. These are my DuraShock boots made by Bates. I've got several pairs of Bates boots, and this particular pair I've been wearing for the better part of a year now. And I wear these boots every day to work with my job and what I do to pay my bills and put food on my family's table. I'm on my feet constantly. I'm working in these boots. I'm lifting heavy shit. The good thing about a pair of boots like this is you got your side zip, easy on and off. And these are also, I'm not sure if these would be considered a Vibram sole, but good tread is always a good thing, especially when you're doing rough terrain. I will say, however, with these boots, I wore the inserts out of them more times than I care to count. As a rule of thumb, when you're getting new boots, always make sure you have the insoles good, or replace them as soon as you can with something that is able to make your feet more comfortable. Anything with arch support is a must. You guys don't want to walk your feet flat, right? Another nice option are GI issue. These are actually more of a commercial knockoff of U.S. military jungle boots that were prevalent in the 90s and early 2000s. These would be considered genuine modern jungle boots. These do not have the spike protective insert like the Vietnam version did, but these are the modern jungle boot. As you can see, good canvas upper, good leather lower. These boots I have worn in the field for a good number of years. These would be considered your Panama sole jungle boot. These boots were designed to push the mud and dirt out of these little channels here in the tread design. This particular tread came around in 68, 69 during the anywhere between the latter and late stages of the Vietnam War. So this boot pattern is definitely tried and true. Breathable as hell. You got vent holes here to help with breathability. That is something you always need. However, if black isn't your thing, we also have a good pair of, we got something like these tan jungle boots. These ones also carry a Panama sole. And these are actually American Army issue desert boots. These were the kind that would have been standard issue with your UCPs. If you guys remember that abomination of a camouflage pattern, these would have been issued with it. These ones also have your Panama sole, as I said. These ones are lacking the vent holes that your other jungle type boot would have. However, the brown is a nice thing, especially in mud, dirt. These things would work in that environment and could be close enough to tree bark or different shades of woods in the trees that you could get by with them. So these would definitely go with woodland camo if you had to wear them. Always a nice option. But if you want a more aggressive boot style, we've also got these Ripple sole boots. These ones are more at home in a desert environment. These are the kind that also don't have any vent holes, but definitely a decent set in a pinch. Do what you like on this one. Now moving on to the more common boots, a more modern interpretation to the Vibram sole. This particular pair of military boots is actually still genuine issue military. You got more of a mix of the canvas and roughed out leather this time. These would probably be your best bet for a good pair of combat boots, because that roughed out leather is easier to clean and maintain than your genuine leather. And this particular pair of boots is actually, well, actually was standard issue to the United States Air Force to work with their ABU uniform, that digital tiger stripe shit. Cool idea. The aesthetics are nice, but practicality for actual environments, not so much. And then another good Vibram boot design is this newer design. This particular pair of boots is made by Bates. These boots I've worn every single day I go out, every single day I'm doing work, either with friends, around the house, I'm doing yard work, stuff like that. These boots have never let me down whatsoever. And this pair of Bates is actually genuine issue to the United States Marine Corps to this very day. These are the boots that have seen me through a lot of hard days at work, among other things. So these boots I'd practically stake my life on if I had to. I love them. These things go great with a lot of things. You can wear these with woodlands. You can wear these things with desert. And as the Marine Corps shown, these will go good with your MARP hats. So for all you tactical players that want a good boot, I definitely recommend Bates. And if you're going for a genuine military issue, make sure that it is the right type, as far as if it's standard issue to the Marines. Army are fairly generic, same with Navy and Air Force with the camo uniforms they got out now, but still, look for actual legitimate government contract numbers if those boots are issued, because there are off brands or variants from the same company that are not made to U.S. military standard. With that being said, find a boot that works for you. Make sure your insoles are swapped out as needed or right when you get them. Other than that, you should be pretty damn good to go on it.
Okay, things that go in your pack or butt pack. First off, I'm going to put a poncho and poncho liner. In a pinch, the poncho makes a good emergency shelter, and poncho liner is a blanket, especially on those cold days or whatever. Best to keep it with you. Next up is going to be your snivel gear, watch caps, patrol caps, or grid fleece like this. Especially for those cooler months, it doesn't matter what part of North America you are. Hell, even in Florida, temperatures can drop into the 40s or even 30s. So, always best to keep some snivel gear in your pack, especially that grid fleece. It can save your life. And next thing, E-tool, entrenching tool. At least one guy in your group should carry this on the backpack. You're not digging in on a paintball field, but this and a thing of baby wipes, they go hand in hand, because nobody likes what is called monkey ass. The next thing is you want a spare uniform, spare clothing like civilian clothing with you. That's for after the event if you're going out on the town, or you just need to change into a new uniform during a scenario event or an outlaw game. Always keep that with you. Next up, for all you guys that are doing outlaw or big scenario games, always keep a first aid kit on your backpack and on your gear rig. 2 is 1, 1 is none. You always could use one in your pack to supplement your gear 1. It's always a good thing to have and not need it than to need it and not have it. Next thing, we're doing food. Brown bagging it is a good option, but you do not want to really do that depending upon the area you're in because of the risk of animals getting to it. But if you are going to bring food and you need to bring a good amount of it, nothing says good like military issued MREs. Definitely worth it. Now, while we're doing that, research the area that you're going to be playing in. You'll find animals like these cute, cuddly little bunny rabbits, or something like this thieving raccoon that would probably get into your shit if you don't secure it. Other than that, the flora and the fauna can be just as dangerous to you, such as animals like this Florida panther. Yes, I said Florida panther. I'm Florida native. This thing does stalk the woods in Florida. Further north, you got something like this wolf here. Proud, strong, and a vicious hunter, but it's always the unseen things that could kill you, like this damn viper here. With that being said, bear this in mind as to reiterate, if you're looking for an outlaw game or an area to do it, make sure you know what crawls, slithers, and calls these areas home.
If you're looking for good Outer Heaven paintball merch, and also don't forget to check out our friends over at AcidTactical.com. Links will be provided in the description of this video, as well as links to the Acid Tactical Etsy shop, their Amazon, eBay, and also their Teespring shop, which I also helped design for. And if you're looking for a Tiger Stripe uniform like this or other gear, don't forget to check out Modern Combat Sports. Even though I'm not a brand ambassador, I will throw a link out for them because I like this gear. I want to see more of this stuff sold by them, and quite frankly, I need more stuff like this too. So there's that one. Anyway, this is Big Boss, and I'm out of here.